Broncos 27, Giants 13. Welcome to Talking Giants presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner. Here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And I'm so sick of starting every single year with Beck. Beck starts this podcast off every single year. 10 out of the last 11 season openers the Giants have lost. And since we've been doing this podcast, it's been 3 years in a row with losses. And it's frustrating because the expectations maybe they don't win this game, but the expectations were higher than what we saw today or yesterday when you're listening. Justin, how are you?
I'm demoralized, Bobby Skinner. Really, I'm demoralized. I'm disheartened. To see MetLife Stadium with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and you said they were showing it on the TV broadcast, but it was obviously apparent sitting at the stadium too. 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, seeing more orange jerseys in the stands than blue jerseys. And this is not me blaming the fans. I think some people on Twitter took it that way. It's not me blaming the fans. It's just a reality that we're in the month of September, and it almost feels like we were in December of 2019, where we're back in that same spot of, having more opponent jerseys in the stands than our actual home jerseys. And it's so disheartening because it was such an exciting tailgate. It was such an awesome day with everybody that stopped by in the parking lot to hang out and tailgate, and just walking around the parking lot and going to various different tailgates that I went to. The energy was awesome pregame. Fans were excited getting into the stands. Even, the energy that was during the game when the Giants were actually in it and they were winning for a little bit, it was awesome. The energy was there, and just the way that it finished off in the second half and the way that it went down, it's disheartening. It really is disheartening. So you mentioned 10 out of the last 11 openers have resulted in a loss, and we're gonna talk about it because that's what we do.
Yeah, and so if this is your first time listening to a game recap podcast, we'll talk about the offense first, and then we'll move on to the defense. So we're not avoiding the defense. Where do you want to start with the offense? Because I feel like it just kind of has to start with scheme, because that's kind of been the talk of the offseason. Because we were very anti Jason Garrett last year, and I am very I'm patient. I'm a patient person. But the morning after the season ended last year, January 4th, I tweet out, fire Jason Garrett. They should have fired Jason Garrett. And there's more to it than just Jason Garrett, but it's the exact same as last year. That's the issue, is that there's better players, but it is the exact same as last year. I mean, it is comical how much they run the stick concept, how much they run the quick game. Like, it is insane. And they couldn't run the ball well. They were kind of getting baited into running the ball and running into stacked boxes. And they kind of just didn't even use, they paid Kenny Golladay $17 million a year to be this contested catch wide receiver, and they didn't use him until garbage time. They didn't use him. You got this guy to make contested catches on the sidelines, and they're just nah, we're actually not going to do that. The only shot they took all game, besides the last seconds of garbage time, was an offsides. Why does it take an offsides for the Giants to take a shot? That's what's so frustrating. And on that shot, you see that it worked, okay? Yeah. And it didn't work because it was a shot. It was their mindset was okay, now we could take a free play. But it's this offensive scheme is nope, we are not an aggressive offense. They run stick. It is crazy. Daniel Jones was really good in the RPO read option. Didn't do any of that stuff. It's just we weren't we weren't part of the people saying oh, it's just preseason, they're hiding everything. No, it's going to be close to the same, but I didn't expect it to be this similar. It's the exact same. It's no different. If anything, it's a little worse because they weren't using Daniel Jones' legs.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with the schematic part of it because the Giants were moving the ball. I mean, Daniel Jones in the first half, Bobby, was 9 for 12 with 111 yards and a touchdown with 2 explosive plays. One of them was a score that went to Sterling Shepard, and then the other one was the 40-yard throw to Darius Slayton on that first offensive drive. So, really, when the game was kind of going, when the Giants were rolling a little bit, when they were actually on the field, I wasn't mad at how they were moving the ball because they were moving the ball. But here's what I was frustrated with, and this is Jason Garrett. So I was upset with the play calling, and particularly with the first down ineffectiveness, where the Giants did not run a lot of offensive plays today. Especially when we're talking about non-garbage time. All these stats that I'm going to talk about are non-garbage time stats. Frankly, I left with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I didn't see any of it. I'm not counting it, So 8 rushes today or let me even say this. The Giants on 1st and 10 today before garbage time. There was a total of 15 1st and 10 plays that they had today before garbage time. 8 of those were rushes that went for 2.13 yards per carry. 7 of those were passes that went for 8.86 yards per carry. Bobby, I think it was clear and apparent early in the game. Saquon Barkley had like four carries for 10 yards at the end of the first half. And I already read you off Jones's first half stats that they were really good. I think it was clear and apparent early in the game that running the ball in general, but especially running it on first down, was not going to work. And that those 8 wasted plays that the Giants had in quarters 1 through 4, when the game was relevant, those 8 wasted plays, frankly, in my opinion, that was the difference in the game. Obviously we could talk about Jones's fumble, which I tremendously hurts. That is the game. That is the play that, turns this game upside on its head. But those 8 wasted plays where they just continued to run the ball on 1st and 10, where it just sets you up in such a bad spot, where if you throw a 2nd and long incompletion, then you're in a 3rd and a manageable 8. That's what irks me the most about Jason Garrett this game. And we could talk about Jones too, but that's what irks me the most about Jason Garrett, is that we just wasted 8 plays today.
I can't get as mad, because it's like last year. I remember Pittsburgh, like they just were running the ball into stack boxes. Denver, I will give them credit. Their coaches get paid too. They did a good job of doing their 2 high safety looks, and then as the Giants were getting ready to snap the ball, they had their safety like rolling down into the box. So the Giants had favorable fronts to run at, and they were like baiting them into it, and then they would have that +1 stack box look. So, like, I'm not as mad. Like, there was times where it just, like, why'd you run the ball here? I'm not as mad as that. It's that, but, like, okay, you're doing that. The read option worked really well last year. And they did. I remember week 3 last year going into it, it's like, we are one of 2 teams that have ran 0 read option. 0 read option. Then they start running it, and it was like some of their best plays of the year were off of that. They didn't do that. They didn't run any RPO with it. After the first drive, they didn't use Kadarius Tony at all until the last drive of the game.
Which that hurts so much, by the way. That's how you follow up a 40-yard play. Granted, if the play works, then if he gets a 5-yard gain on first down and it's a little pass, which that bothers me, by the way, that they count that as a pass and not a run. It was a -6-yard play following an explosive play. You just can't have that, and that ends the drive. That is a drive killer. On again, first down inefficiency, that is a drive killer. And it followed up what was a beautiful explosive play, and then they go 3 and out after that. So that's again, it's just, disheartening is going to be the word of this episode. So.
Right. So, but it's just, even, okay, so like, you mentioned running the ball. It's okay, 2nd and 8 or whatever. Like, it's not the end of the world, but then it's like, okay, well, we run stick concepts, and we're basically forcing ourselves into 3rd down.
Right.
And like that's the issue. That's like, I think our biggest issue with Garrett is that, like, it's not that you run stick. It's that you want to sustain a long drive every single drive, and that just doesn't work. And today is a perfect example of that. As stuff happens, and it seems like with this offense, with Jason Garrett, that it's just like, all right, one play screws it all up. Like Kadarius Tony getting a 5-yard loss on that play shouldn't end the drive. But guess what? Because they want to gain yards, get back to like 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9, they run a draw play. Get against a even box, and then now they have 3rd and 18. Well, now the drive's over. You had that 42-yard pass, now the drive's over. And let's go through the drives, which we can talk with Jones. The second one, you have the sack on 3rd down. That was a stick concept. Now I will give them credit; they were trying to run it out and up with Saquon Barkley. But that's a long developing play to not have anything else tagged into it, that just in case you don't get there. And then Nate Solder gives up a sack on 3rd down, which was embarrassing. The 3rd drive, they scored the touchdown. The 4th drive, the end of that end of the half drive was embarrassing. Like, that's the most embarrassing drive of the, like part of the game for the offense.
After the turnover?
Yeah, they get the turnover. And I get, like, not going balls to the wall right there. Like, they ran it on 1st down there. I get it. You kind of maybe want to get the clock running. But on 2nd down, they run that play action, flat to Elijah Penny. Like, you're playing with fire there because you're turning your back in the end zone, which can get you a safety. But what pisses me off the most is that it is 3rd and 8. 3rd and 8. And they run a stick concept that's 4-5 yards short of the 1st down. And like you knew what look they were going to give you too. It was not like that it was like supposed to work and they surprised you with something. You knew from pre-snap that you're going to throw the ball to Kyle Rudolph in the flat, and Kyle Rudolph was not going to turn that into a first down.
Yeah,
you knew that was going to happen.
That was so bad.
They flat out gave up on that drive, and at the time they were winning the game. They were winning the game 7-3. And then now at the end of the half, they're losing the game 10-7, and then the Broncos get the ball back.
And, you give them the ball back, and it was actually a really good pump by Riley Dixon. So what? Broncos get the ball back at around the 35, 40-yard line, so to speak, and that they had an opportunity right there to get momentum even more. I mean, the momentum was on their side. You forced the turnover after the Broncos were driving. You put together a big explosive play for a score, and you held the Broncos to 3 points anyway, despite them driving the ball really well. And then you have those 3 plays. So you could point to a lot of areas in this game, where it's like, oh, well, they lost it there. They could have had it there, and it's the same old for this Giants team. But that third down play call was really.
Because it wasn't trying. They were not trying to get a first down on that play call. Like they flat out were like, we want to crank 40 seconds off the clock. Like they also would have been better off running the ball. And I'm not even like I know if they would have ran the ball and not got it, everyone would have been pissed off at that. But like by what the defense showed them, they would have been better off running the ball than throwing that. That play.
And here's what I think. Even though the offensive line, by all standards and by our expectations pregame, actually had a really good game. I'm thinking to myself right there, well, in a way, I almost don't even blame them, because if Daniel Jones does take a sack right there, it's a safety. If Daniel Jones does fumble right there, it's a touchdown for the Denver Broncos. So it's almost bad that they've brainwashed me into thinking that its offensive line can't hold their guys for more than 2 3/4 of a second. And if they do, Daniel Jones is a sitting duck back there, and that's 2 points or 7 points for the Broncos. So that it's just so... that series of events was just so unfortunate. So do you want to keep going through the drives or what?
Well, let's talk about Daniel Jones, and I'll finish it off with the scheme stuff in a second. We'll just talk about Daniel Jones' individual performance. It's just so frustrating, and I started off with this. I'll finish off with that. They paid Kenny Galladay $17 million, and it's week 1, and there will be overreactions in this episode that we'll look back at and say we were wrong about this. But it's so frustrating that they paid this guy, and they said no, we're not taking shot plays. We're not If the Broncos don't jump off sides on a 3rd and 5, the Giants don't throw the ball more than 20 yards one time. Seriously. Yeah. They don't. The only other time was that Kenny Galladay, 4th and long, they just kind of threw in the back of the end zone play. If the Broncos do not jump off sides on 3rd and 5, and trust me that on 3rd and 5 they weren't running all go balls, that they don't throw the ball over 20 yards one single time, and that's what's frustrating, and that is what. And I wasn't expecting the most aggressive game, coming into this game. My talking points was honestly, I don't think you need to be super aggressive in this game the way Denver plays their defense. But I wasn't talking about that, Pansy. Now let's talk about Daniel Jones. 22 of 37, 59%, 267 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, 6 carries, 27 yards, 1 touchdown, the fumble. And in an offense where you can't have errors, that fumble was killer. At the time the game was 17-7. There's a good chance they scored a touchdown there, and the game's 17-14.
They were on their way.
And you've got yourself a ball game. They were moving the ball on that drive. And it's so frustrating because if you watch the play, he braces for contact. He puts 2 hands on before the fumble happens, I'm in my mind saying good job, 2 hands on the ball. And he just fumbles, and it's how do you evaluate that? You can't. We can evaluate the way he throws the ball and accuracy and moving in the pocket, which I actually thought he did a good job of, and his athleticism and bad decisions. What am I supposed to say after that? I just don't know what to say, but it continues to happen with fumbles. I don't know. It's just frustrating that he did have some couple dangerous passes in the end of the game, but they were going, they were trying to win the game at the end. But that was just come on, dude. It's it seems like that's the Daniel Jones story. That it's those 1-2 things where it's what the hell? What the hell? There's no reason for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that fumble killed the game. It really did. You're driving well. They threw the ball well that drive. Saquon Barkley started off that drive with the 5-yard run on 1st down, which Saquon had 2 5-yard runs today, and that were the 2 longest runs that he had of the day. Bobby Skinner also, quick note, Daniel Jones was the team's leading rusher again by 1 yard. He had 1 yard more than...
Let's see how long we can keep this going.
Yeah.
We need to go back and find out what it lasted to last year. But last year it lasted to like week 12. Let's see how long we could keep the Daniel Jones leading rusher stuff.
Yeah, so, again, feeling like we're in 2020. Ship had another play on that drive where they were driving down the field with yards after the catch. It went for 20 yards. I believe, if I'm just counting right on the top of my head, not counting garbage time, I think the Giants had a total of 3 explosive plays. There were no runs of 10-plus yards. The longest run that they had today was 8 yards. That was Daniel Jones not on the fumble play. That run was 7 yards. And then the 20-yard play to Shep, the big touchdown to Shep, and then the Darius Slayton big play. Slayton had an 8-yard catch on a first down, too. Scramble and fumble came after a great series of events where Barkley ran for 3 yards on a third down, which I love. Them running on that 3rd and 2, that's when you're supposed to run the ball. Where my critique of running on 1st and 10, running on 1st and 10, you're supposed to hey, Jason Garrett, set yourself up in a good spot. So if you want to get to 3rd down every single drive, run it on 3rd and short. And that's where you can kind of ground and pound, where maybe a defense is expecting a pass and then there's less guys in the box. And that was a great individual effort on the offensive line and Saquon too. So that's when you're supposed to run the ball on 3rd and short. So that came in. So right after that play, on that first down, that's when Jones fumbled. So, how are you supposed to evaluate it? You can't. I mean, I feel that's why I don't think we're ever going to be a show that, I'm sorry if you want us to rip apart Jones. You can't have it. It's absolutely unacceptable. We cannot have the turnovers. You can't. We said the same thing in the preseason. This offense is not good enough at putting themselves in positions to score points on a consistent basis. So whenever you do make those mistakes, they are huge and they are magnified and they are unacceptable. So we are at a point where Jones can't make those mistakes. But we're never going to be a podcast that's going to say this guy sucks and get this guy out of here because of the circumstances that are surrounding him. And also, how are you supposed to just don't fumble the ball? That's the critique. That's the solution. And it's crazy.
It's week 1, week 17. If we're kind of having these conversations, then it's okay, let's talk about quarterbacks this offseason. But it's after, let me give you 10 seconds of I can't do it. I can't even fake do it.
I feel, in all seriousness, I feel bad for him. I really do.
Well, what's frustrating is that one turnover wrecks the entire game. That's what's frustrating, and that's our issue with the offense. Is that it's just everything has to go perfect.
Yep.
And versus the Eagles last year, week 10, everything went perfect, and they put up a whopping 27 points. That's our biggest gripe is that everything has to be perfect, and it's just you can't expect that. Even if I don't know, it's just so frustrating. But he does deserve a lot of criticisms for that. It's just let's go through the drives though. The first one, you have the bomb play, then you have the Kadarius Tony negative yard play, then they give a draw to Devontae Booker on 2nd and 15 negative yards, and so you're 3rd and 17, not converting that. The second one, they ran stick with Saquon on an out and up, which is a long developing play, but tag that with something, and so it's then they get a sack on 3rd down. The 3rd drive they get a touchdown. The 4th drive is the end of the half. They're not even trying to score. And then the 5th drive, after the Broncos score a nice long play, he fumbles. And then that's basically the game's essentially over at that point, So that's. Can you read the ad, by the way?
Yes, I can read the ad. We'll get to the offensive line and stuff like that. Maybe final points on Jones. It's unacceptable, but the offense moved the ball well. And again, like usual, he didn't get much help. So. Kind of the same.
We're not going to bench him for Glennon. It doesn't mean that we're Jones. He deserves a good amount of blame for this game, but we're not benching.
Yeah, and really, the only other point is, hey, Devontae Booker made a crazy one-handed catch. That ball was a little inaccurate. He threw into a triple coverage with Saquon Barkley, I believe, in the red zone. That could have been picked off. So, I mean, any other critiques that we got to get out of the way?
No. We could talk about the O-line. Read the ad because we can talk about the O-line.
All right, fantasy football is here. Football season's here. Lamar Jackson is fast, but you know who's faster? Daniel Jones. And your girl running out of the bedroom when she sees that man turf growing around your end zone. Ooh, fun metaphor. Keep that field trimmed with the sponsor of today's show, Manscaped, the leader in below-the-waist grooming. They just launched their Performance Package 4.0. Join the 2 million men worldwide, including Bobby and myself, who trust Manscaped, and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code GIANTS. And good news, this is actually big news because we have a very big international crowd. For our international listeners, their life-changing products are now available in Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside that Performance Package 4.0, you're going to find a Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker for your ear, nose hair trimmer. I need that nose hair trimmer. Crop Preserver ball deodorant. I need it after today. I was a little shreddy and schwitzing at MetLife Stadium today. Crop Reviver toner, ball performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag. Don't forget, Crop Preserver, ball deodorant, and the Crop Reviver. They're going to help your little bench warmers to be on their A game while feeling the sun's heat, which I was feeling today. Manscaped even threw in their 2 free gifts in their Performance Package 4.0, Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Shed Travel Bag is actually very helpful when you travel. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code GIANTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus the free shipping with code GIANTS at manscaped.com. We don't know who you're picking as a flex this season, but we do know you'll be flexing in your southern region with Manscaped. Your footballs will thank you. Thank you to Manscaped.
Speaking of which, all I needed was Aaron Rodgers to not totally crap the bet, and I would have won my Week 1 fantasy game, but he crapped the bet.
That's probably the most bizarre thing that happened this weekend. Frankly, we're looking at Week 4, and now we're shaking our boots a little bit more.
Yeah. I my take of the Saints may not be as good as people think is wrong. All right, let's talk about the offensive line. In this screwed up world, where the one thing that, there's really, you're not really looking for any confidence in there. You're not spinning that at all. The offensive line looked good. The defense looked horrible, and the offensive line, for the most part, looked good. They didn't look like the best offensive line in the league, but they looked good.
Let me get some stats out of the way first before you talk about individual play. According to the NFL Game Book, which is pretty much on par with Pro Football Reference, 2 QB hits allowed, 2 sacks. One of them was in garbage time. So one of the QB hits,
and it was the play where they Parrott and Thomas and Hernandez didn't realize the ball was snapped. So kind of not can't even really I don't know what happened on that, but it's not poor O-line play. It's poor O-line play, but you know what I mean.
Both those QB hits and both those sacks came by Von Miller. Now Jones's average time before the release today was at 2.58 seconds. So even though that's relatively quick, where he averaged last year 2.76 seconds, and believe it or not, that quarter of a second is it's a lifetime of a difference in the NFL, especially when we're talking about throwing the ball. I do take that as a win for the offensive line, which at least the pass blocking unit had very minimal expectations, but the run blocking offensive line is a different story. So Bobby Skinner, go ahead, go for it.
Well, part of the run, and it's so hard to watch from the TV copy, but I think some of the run issues were them giving them an extra man in the box, and it's there's someone that's going to go unblocked. And it seemed like they were running some zone stuff, which is I thought we kind of got away from that.
And also, Saquon Barkley, I don't really know if I fully like this metric. Still evaluating
He didn't look good. I'll be he did not look explosive.
According to NFL Next Gen Stats, Saquon Barkley was the least efficient running back in the NFL this past weekend. That metric takes into account how long you're spending behind the line of scrimmage, how much you're running east and west versus north and south. Now, granted, is he trying to bounce runs because he's looking for a hole and the run blocking was bad? I don't know, but hey, it is becoming too much of a common trend in Saquon Barkley's kind of tenure so far, at least at the start of 2020 and now the start of 2021. It's tough to judge. It's his first game back out there, but he was the least efficient running back in the National Football League this past weekend. So that's that.
Wonderful. What a wonderful stat. Andrew Thomas played damn near flawless. Now, I will say Bradley Chubb didn't play. So, take it with a grain of salt. And we've seen Andrew Thomas have good games before.
And Von Miller primarily lined up on the right side. He did not line up on the left side.
Yeah, I don't think he faced Von Miller at all. So, don't take I'm not taking a victory lap on Andrew Thomas. But you know what? He looked good. That last time he was on the Patriots game, he looked bad. And the story came out that he was sick. I don't know how much I don't like to get into the weeds on that stuff. Either you play good or you play bad. There's a couple of reps where he could have got beat inside, but he recovered well, which was almost like a good thing. It's okay, you're not worried about getting beat around the outside. He was winning his reps and winning them good. He wasn't just getting guys around the corner, which at times he's done. He looked really good. And then at left guard, Shane Lemieux played essentially the first half. Ben Bredesen played the second half. Lemieux looked pretty damn good too. Not flawless, but Bredesen had had some bad plays too. Not disaster plays, but the O-line report. I am very interested to see compare those two, because I was ready after this game to be Ben Bredesen should start, but I didn't see anything from Shane Lemieux that says Ben Bredesen should start. But I saw some really good run blocking plays by Lemieux. Bredesen had some decent ones too. So some hope there. Now Denver doesn't have the greatest interior D line. Gates looked fine, but he got in. By the way, Teddy Bridgewater, what an asshole he is. Like, seriously, strap your helmet on. That was such garbage. He kept on had a loose helmet on purpose and would fall every time it hit the ground. The helmet would come off, and then the third time it happens, they call a penalty. So
yeah, Danny Shelton got screwed out of that. Where Danny Shelton literally came up and he's like,
I did a somersault over him.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to give my body up to not hit this dude. He got up, literally like put his hands up, and then, the flag gets called and that's baloney. So,
Hernandez missed some stuff. Out of those three guys, from the TV broadcast, Hernandez looked the worst, which is kind of frustrating. Solder did not look good at all. He wasn't a total train wreck. He was definitely like letting guys around the edge kind of thing, but Jones honestly kind of did a decent job stepping up in the pocket, which has not been a theme of Daniel Jones' career.
No.
But that's sack, and I might just post the clip and not like put a caption on it. It might be the most embarrassing of Solders like that I've seen as the Giants. Like he looked like a wobbly baby deer. Like it was embarrassing. Like it was like, what are you doing? He's like standing straight up. His knees are like shake. Like it was the weirdest rep I've seen from Nate Solder. Yeah, I've seen him do like spin moves in the middle of reps. So he wasn't, he wasn't getting blown away every single play. So I guess that's kind of a win for Solder. Parrott, I'll be honest, I didn't rewatch the Parrott snaps. It was in garbage time. I know people will bring up that rep where they, where they blew past him, but it wasn't Parrott's bad technique or not punching that caused him to just not get off the ball when the ball snapped. There was clearly some type of miscommunication. I don't think Parrott was just like, you know what, on this play, I'm just going to stay in my stance for an extra half a second.
Yeah, so it's just the fact that
it's just kind of crazy
running
that
the
O-line
ball
is the brightest spot.
Non-existent. That's the thing. And, clearly this team wants to have that as part of their identity. And it wasn't there, whether it was because they're running in the stacked boxes and a guy's coming in here last second. But we were most concerned about pass blocking, and that is it is a non-storyline heading into Monday. So, if you want to win, there's a win. And Nick Gates getting in somebody's face, I don't know who it was, but after Daniel Jones gets hit late, and really I don't even know if they should have called that, but the fact that they called it on Teddy Bridgewater. And that was BS. You needed to call that, and that was more egregious. And the fact that Nick Gates was the first guy to get in somebody's face, that just let us know that we're back. So, can we also shout out, before we move to the defense, can we just shout out Sterling Shepard, please? I'm shouting him out. Seven receptions, 9 targets. So that's more than a 70% catch rate. So welcome back, Sterling Shepard. 113 yards, 16.1 average per catch. And 37 yards was his longest, and he obviously had the big touchdown with the 37-yarder. Sterling Shepard was pretty much one of our only sources of yards after the catch last year, and really, what he showed today was a tremendous individual effort at getting separation again and yards after the catch. And even some of the routes in the intermediate part of the field where he was targeted, I think there was like a 3rd and short where he was targeted. There was corner that was just draped on top of him, and he just makes a quick little catch on a slant. And Sterling Shepard's unbelievable. And really, there is a reason why he is a lot of people's favorite Giants player, and really the player that you feel most bad for, because he's been a part of the winning source of 2016, but he's also been a part of the most losing over the course of 2017 to right now. So, if there's a guy that you feel bad for, especially when you consider that the dude's brains are probably a bunch of mashed potatoes up there with the 17,000 concussions that he's had, and the dude's out here and he's playing his ass off, and he's the best and most reliable weapon that Daniel Jones has had since Daniel Jones has stepped onto the football field. So shout out to Sterling Shepard. He player of the game, and there's a reason why last year I was calling him the most important Giant, because he is. He really is. So.
And shout out to Kadarius Tony for coming in on the first drive of the game. They
he's going to have a significant role in the game.
All right, that's enough. We'll play with you next week. Shout out to Kadarius Tony. It looked like he was, and then it was like, no, we just kind of put you in the first game, the game script, and then like, all right, we don't actually want you to line up and watch
used the first time that he's on the field. By the way, right? It's not like they were actually maybe. Oh, look, Here's this guy that they said that they wanted to use openly. He's on the field. Maybe we should be prepared for them to use him.
What I feel really dumb about is that Elijah Moore had -3 yards today, and a lot of people, made their LOL like, oh, the Giants took Kadarius Tony over Elijah Moore jokes. So I put out a tweet being like, Kadarius Tony has 3 more yards than Elijah Moore so far in his career. Giants kick off soon, like take that, draft douches.
How about that?
And Kadarius Tony has -2 yards, but he still does have 1 more yard than Elijah Moore. How about that? I'll probably tweet that out tomorrow. You think it'd be a simple game getting Kadarius Tony open to space. A simple game of matching answers to trivial questions. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Match 5 Trivia. It's a game they sent me, and I kind of like it. It comes with 320 game cards with many different topics, so it's fun for anyone and everyone. Like, you can do teams, you can do single teams, and it's basically like some of the best cards have like sports-oriented questions, like name the 5 best pitchers of all time, and it's you got to try and match it. Like, it's a fun game. You don't have to be smart to play it either. So that's why they're a perfect sponsor for Justin.
Love it.
No, I'm big time like throw you under the bus type guy. This game creates fun discussions and friendly disagreements, like when you're talking about Jason Garrett with your cousin Jeff. They don't have. Oh, that's another thing. Jason Garrett can't use the excuse that they didn't have time to throw the ball downfield. They did. It only takes 3 to play, and there's no limit. Save 15% off your order now when you use the code JOHNBOY. Get your copy of Match 5 Trivia game by going to match5trivia.com. So I need to spell this out for them. It's match5trivia.com and save 15% by entering code JOHNBOY. They played it on John Boy and Jake Radio, and they did a segment on it. Because I got it in the mail, and I was like, what is this? And then I saw they were on it, and then I found out they're sponsoring. So go to match5trivia.com and play this simple, fun game with your friends. All right, the defense.
Yeah.
Where's my fun stat about the defense? You got to see it from like the all 22
For the first 3
angle.
quarters,
like,
Bobby. How many
where are you at with the defense?
minutes are in the first 3 quarters of a football game? Little math question. 45, you are correct. The Broncos held the ball out of those 45 minutes.
45.
For 29 minutes and 58 seconds. For those at home, that's 2 seconds away from 30 minutes. Through 3 quarters, the Broncos basically held the ball for 30 minutes out of 45 minutes. That's not great. So the problems that plagued the Giants' defense last year in terms of getting off the field on 3rd down and 4th down, that was on steroids. That was on steroids. And what I saw from my all-22 kind of view, because it is tough to see, what they're doing with the safeties and what they're doing with the corners behind the, on TV for the TV broadcast. I'm not going to go out and say that they ran man coverage more than zone, but I am going to say that they ran single high safety a whole lot more. They ran more man than they normally did last year. But I still do think
they ran a lot of man.
I still do think that they mixed in zone coverage.
Yes, by far. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. But if they would have played this game plan like week 15 last year, it's like, where the hell did this come from? Like all this man coverage, which I'm not even really hating on. Like this is why they went and signed guys like Adoree Jackson. This is why they drafted Aaron Robinson. Now Aaron Robinson is on IR right now, which might be Aaron Robinson's a clearly better man coverage corner than Darnay, or at least when you look at them as draft prospects. But as far as this game, and I will say paired with Vic Fangio being ballsy on 4th down made a difference. Let me go through it. Like the 4th and 7, in the second drive of the game, it would have been a 54-yard field goal attempt. Now Brandon McManus probably makes that, if they even attempt it. But they did go for it, and they got an easier field goal. So they get 3 points still. So let's just say that's a wash. But it could be 3. The next one's a 4th and 2. Yes, it was the one at the end of the half, 4th and 2. That would have been a punting situation. It would have been 0 points. That's 7 points. That's the Giants going into the half without a lead compared to having a lead. So that's an extra 7 points. And then the other one, 4th and 1, was after a 3rd and 8, and they scored that touchdown. They would have kicked a field goal there, so that's a difference between 4 points. So they added a minimum of 11 points by going for it on 4th down, maybe 14 points. And to give the Giants D a little bit of a pass, they defended the 3rd and long plays like they were trying to stop them to get them to 4th down. Like 2 of them were like, hey, did we allow catches? Yes, but we allowed catches below, in front of the sticks. And then credit to Vic Fangio for going, and it's hard to defend 4th and 2. It just is. When you have 2 yards to gain, the entire playbook is open for the offense. And it was just kind of some bad execution on the players. Xavier McKinney and Azeez Ojulari should have had like drive-ending sacks, and they didn't. And Teddy Bridgewater escaped them like it was Lamar Jackson and made big plays out of him. One was a touchdown, and Blake Martinez missed a tackle, which Blake Martinez was balling, and then he misses that play.
Yeah, I mean Blake had an insanely good game, and then he makes that. He misses that one tackle, and that's what's going to define his day. I believe Leonard Williams could have had a sack too on a Teddy Bridgewater scramble.
Yeah, another one. There was like 3 times where Bridgewater looked like Michael Vick out there, the way he was escaping guys and completing passes.
Crazy.
So you're right. They ran single high man coverage. And then, and this is why I'm not going to be mad. Like James Bradbury on that drive before the half gave up 2 big catches. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like they did pick on Darnay Holmes a little bit, and Darnay Holmes had a horrible penalty, and Joe Judge was killing him on the sideline.
He eviscerated him. Yeah, when he came off the field, Judge took the headset off and everything, and he was yelling. He was yelling him for a good 10 seconds. It was cool to see on the sideline.
Yeah, that was just a dumb penalty. That was a frustration penalty by Darnay Holmes. Can't have that.
Penalties kind of define their game too. The missed sacks and the penalties make this hurt a lot more for this defense, and hopefully they can execute at least that part of it on Thursday. But I think I do think there are bigger problems though. Go ahead. No, you go.
The defense should not be panicked about. It was a very bad game from the defense, but I'm not panicking about the defense. I still think this defense is going to be really good this year. I mean, look at last year. Pittsburgh week 1, they tried to run some man coverage, they got beat by it. Week 3, Nick Mullins carved the defense up. Nick Mullins, this defense has added talent and is a better defense. Now maybe we can quell some of the top 5 stuff, but defenses take a little longer than offenses to get the season going. Yeah, which is frustrating about the Giants' offense.
Yeah.
It's like you put out stuff on paper, and it's like, okay, the defenses adjust to what you've shown. Unfortunately, the Giants ran with the exact same stuff. They just added Kenny Golladay and Saquon Barkley to the mix. Who Saquon didn't look good. So I'm sorry, I'm not this defense should not be panicked about. Like, it is an extremely talented, good defense, and they just weren't great in man coverage, but they had time. That's where the one worry could be though, is that they don't really have anyone that's getting there, consistently. They were trying to do these 5-man blitzes with one single high safety and man coverage, and that's not going to be enough. That's just not. It's not going to be enough. Maybe Denver did a better job than most, but they struggled to get to the QB quick, which a lot of teams do. But they got to kind of change the game plan approach going forward.
Yeah, I feel like Giants are trying to run a lot of stunts. I've seen a lot of stunts being run. Teddy Bridgewater's average time to throw was 3.03 seconds, which if you have a quarterback that's throwing the ball and that's his average time to throw is over 3 seconds, he's got time. He's got time to throw. Also, the thing that was really frustrating about what Denver was doing, I mean, also let's just give them credit too, where Giants defense did play bad.
Shermer.
Let's give Denver and Pat Shurmur, good for Pat Shurmur too. He came up with an incredible game plan. I'm going to rewatch the game tomorrow. God willing, the condensed version's up tomorrow because I really don't want to go through 2 hours and 54 minutes of footage. Almost every single pass attempt was play action. Every single one. Was it that the run was working for Denver and play? You have to abide by play action regardless of whether the run is working or it's not working. You just have to. You have to. And the Giants' defense was relatively good last year, and I still say that they were relatively okay with play action this game in terms of not allowing a big play. But the death by 1,000 cuts mentality that Jason Garrett wants to have, that was manifested by Pat Shurmur today. And guess what? He abandoned the run game. You would see a run maybe once every 2 first downs. And they would just try to keep the defense honest. There came a point early in the game where they were running the ball a lot. And then there came a point in the game where they're like, you know what? It ain't working. We ain't running the ball on this Giants really good defensive line. And Blake Martinez was making all the freaking tackles in the world. That ain't going to work. So they threw the ball. And they threw the ball by the death of the thousand cuts that Jason Garrett wants to have. And they abandoned the run, which good for Pat Shurmur, and they set it up a play action, ton of crossing routes, and that's why it made me feel like
we don't run any crossing routes over the Giants. And the one that we did was the Sterling Shepard touchdown.
Yeah, and I honestly, Pat Shurmur ran today. What beat his defense, and this is why it's so funny, what beat his defense in 2019, which he never really got control of his defense as a head coach. What beat that defense in 2019 and led to so many explosive plays was crossing routes. And that's, Bob Papa talked about it in 2019. Carl Banks talked about it in 2019 every week. And it's funny how he was talking about it again today, where he was talking about those crossing routes and, kind of Teddy Bridgewater, play action. You roll out the pocket a little bit. It gives you time to sit because the defense is honoring that run for a half a second. So that's also probably it too, Bobby. If we're being real, that pass rush not getting there, it's that defense has to honor that play action for maybe half a second, and then it's like, all right, well, now we're going to the quarterback. So that's also it, too, where play action is a legal form of cheating in the NFL, and Pat Shurmur ran it a shit ton today, and, it was the death by 1,000 cuts that Jason Garrett wants to do, but it was done by Pat Shurmur today, and they abandoned the run.
Yeah, it's hard to play man coverage when the QB has time. That's just the reality of it, and Darnay Holmes was bad when he was put in man coverage. Yeah. I mean, Pep, Pep was it wasn't like they were burning him, but it's just hard to cover guys in man coverage.
Yeah.
It's like the hardest thing to do in football is cover guys in man coverage when they have time. When they're not going to have time, and your blitzes are going to get there, and there's someone that can get there, it makes it a big difference. Yeah. So I think Patrick Graham, people were like, I think we maybe like Patrick Graham a little too much. And no, you like him just enough, the right amount.
Got beat.
Yeah, but it's he's not going to have a flawless games for the rest of his career.
Yeah. I still am concerned though. I mean, I think.
What's your biggest concern?
My biggest concern is getting beaten man coverage by talented skill position players because Atlanta has some talented skill guys. Washington definitely has some talented skill guys. I know some guys are hurt on their end, but the NFL is filled with a lot of talented skill position players, and I know we have the cornerbacks to do it. And they got to get gelled, and there's some new people here, there's some new people there. I get it, blah 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 blah, but my concern is running that man coverage, and this is also this. You could take that as a positive. You could take this stat as a positive for the defense, or you could take it as a negative. So CPOE, completion percentage over expected. That's basically measuring how accurate is a quarterback above his expectation using the player tracking data. So Teddy Bridgewater's CPOE today was plus 14.2, where his expected completion percentage was 63.6. His actual completion percentage was 77.8. So what that means is that certain balls that next gen, the metric and the CPOE metric was tracking, certain balls were not expected to be completed, but they were. So that could either be, if you want to be a positive person for this defense, you can look at that and say, oh, well, that's not going to happen every game. Those 50-50 balls of maybe there's tight contested coverage, that's not going to happen every game. There's going to be more pass deflections, et cetera, et cetera. Or you can be a pessimist and you could say, well, even though the man coverage is tight, it's not like you're playing zone defense where if you're throwing past the sticks a decent amount, it's not like you got to come up and make the tackle. Because if you're throwing past the sticks and you complete it in man coverage, then it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you have tight coverage or not. You're still allowing a first down. So I don't know. I'm just.
Here's why I'm not worried.
I'm still
is
concerned.
because Patrick Graham will see that and adjust. We have proof of him being a guy who adjusts. And he kind of started off. He started off last year kind of the same way. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to adjust, and he does different things. Every single game that he coaches, he does different things. Even not just adjusting to a bad performance. He adds new wrinkles every game. So I that's why. Unless there ends up being serious injuries, I'm just not worried about this defense. It's going to get better. Okay, I'm not overreacting to week one with this defense. I know they played bad today, but you know what? They played bad. They got gashed by Nick Mullins last year, and we ended up really liking what the defense turned out to be. So
that's just so bad. I mean,
it's bad in the moment, but it's just long term. I'm not worried about it.
Possessing the ball for 30 minutes out of 45 in the first three quarters, and that's why I know all right, so let's. I hate to do this. This is kind of like a sports radio thing. If you had to split the percentage out of 100%, the percentage of who to blame for the loss today, I would go 65-35 leaning defense. That's the reason why we lost today. I just don't think they didn't give our offense enough shots today. That's my take. You got to get off the field on 3rd and 4th down. You got to.
I will say,
and I hate to do this because I know it's a stupid question.
But at the same time, it's like the offense put up 7 points until the last drive of the game.
Well, I know, but also
And
they didn't get their shot, Bobby. 30 minutes out of 45, they held the ball. They held the ball through 3 quarters, and it's not because the Giants were just punting. You know what I mean? If the Giants were just going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, I would get more upset. But they produced that explosive play on the first drive. They punted, and that punt. I hate how that special teams, they could have pinned Denver down deep in their territory, but our stupid gunners, whoever, lets the ball bounce in the back of the end zone. Was that Keon Crossman? We traded a 6th-round pick for him. So that's frustrating within itself too. So do you have a percentage for me, or are you not going to give me one?
I'm not going to give you a percentage.
Okay, you're going to cop out. That's okay.
I'll say 50. Here, I'll say 50-50.
Okay.
Here's where I think you could be worried with the defense. It's not that It's that they're going to need to be great for this team to be good.
Yep.
And that they might not be great. That's what will be your worry with the defense, is that the offense is going to be really bad again.
Yep.
We'll see. I mean, it's just frustrating that it's like not like, oh, what if these players play better, or it's just like this offensive. I feel like this offensive system is broke, and I just don't think it's going to get better. What would give me the confidence to think it's going to get better offensively? Like defensively, I just laid out a bunch of reasons why you should, have some faith that I'll get better. Offensively, there's no reason to think it's going to get better. Do we think Daniel Jones is going to turn to Patrick Mahomes? No. Do we think Jason Garrett's going to turn into Andy Reid? No. Saquon will be better. That'll make a little bit of a difference.
He dropped the ball.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. I mean, it wasn't real. I don't know if it was going to go for much, but he did drop a ball, hit him right in his hands.
By the way, Devontae Booker laid a dude out on that touchdown to Shepard.
Yeah, there you go. Worth it.
He had a nice catch too, where Jones kind of like missed him on the check down.
Yeah, it was great. You want me to read the last stat, and then we can just talk just kind of BS for a little bit and talk about whatever we want to talk about?
Yeah, go for it.
I want to talk about Joe Judge too. So, guys and gals, we are super excited to share with you a product that is an absolute game changer. As you know, chewing tobacco, it's a rite of passage when it comes to football. However, times have definitely changed. It's 2021. I smoked a cigar today before the game. No, we aren't going to promote sunflower seeds or coffee grinds. There is a new company out of Humboldt County, California, that have created a tobacco nicotine-free dip alternative with CBD that tastes great and really works. Cannabis CBD has mastered a discreet and fast-acting way to consume CBD and has provided it in a format that can help you evolve your dip. Cannadip CBD is offering our listeners a great offer. They are so confident you will love the dips and want to offer you 20% off site-wide to help power your favorite team or fantasy squad into the playoffs by chewing tobacco. You have that power. Head to CannaDipsCBD.com and use promo code GIANTS for 20% off site-wide and become a hero with Canna Dips. These Canna Dips CBD pouches are all natural, spitless, and are great to use wherever and whenever. No tobacco, no nicotine, full flavor experience designed for your enjoyment, and at 20% off with the code GIANTS. Why wait? So again, that is CannaDipsCBD.com. Use promo code GIANTS for 20% off site-wide and become a hero with Canna Dips.
I'm doing a tweet.
You're doing a tweet?
Yeah, because I saw a friend of the program saying, like, why am I seeing that Garrett's getting all the blame when Garrett's defense, which is conversation. So I'm saying Patrick Graham has proven to be a coach who adjusts and changes game to game. So I'm not panicked about the defense. On the other hand, Jason Garrett rolled out the same exact offense and didn't even involve their new 17 mil. Let me find the number sign. 17 mil wide receiver.
Sure.
Feature. I'm gonna change it from involved to feature. Anything else I should add to that?
No. And also, I mean, not using their first round pick that they said that they were going to involve in the game plan too. So That's also a problem. That is great. I mean, that is. I know the game.
This is going to be a Vincent Rapper Sparta tweet because I'm putting like 3 separate like little.
I do that sometimes. Miss him. Wish he were to come back to Twitter. It is crazy though that contested catch king did it the first drive, and I know they run 2 high safeties. I know. Blah 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 blah.
They still gave him like there's still chances against that, you know.
Yeah. It's just crazy that you have that contested catch king and you didn't even give him an opportunity. You know, I love that play action attempt. That play action attempt. Jones kind of plants his foot, steps up in the pocket, fires at the Galladay, and it was almost
So
like
we
a little
did that
contested
last
catch.
Year, you know.
I don't remember seeing that a ton last year. And Galladay, was a big target. You know, even if there's not a lot of separation, you throw it to him, and even if it's a little behind him, he goes and he gets that ball. Again, just you see a first down play, and you see a passing play that's beyond the sticks on like a 1st and 10 or a 2nd and long, and you're like, wow, that's amazing, and you're surprised by it, and that shouldn't be a surprising thing in today's NFL. So I don't know if I want to end off on this, but my last little point that I have, I was mad at Judge. I was very frustrated with Joe Judge, and there's very little that a head coach can do when he's not a play caller on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. There's very little that a head coach can do to really have an impact on a game. We're talking about timeouts.
In game, yeah.
In game, yes. Not obviously out off the field. But in game, when he's not calling plays, there's very little that a head coach can do. 4th down decisions and timeouts. So that's basically it. But that challenge flag that he threw in the second half, this wasn't a first half challenge flag. You can't do that. And you can't do that. And
his explanation for it was even worse. He was like, I knew the rule, but I was just trying to get their attention. Like it would have been a dumb challenge even if he was allowed to challenge it. Like it was a very bad explanation by him.
Yeah. I kind of got the explanation at the end where he's like, I needed to get the officials' attention and I knew the rule. But it's like, dude, you also need to know that every scoring play, even if the officials aren't going under the hood, to look at it, you need to know that it is looked at. It is looked at by New York. It's or Secaucus, wherever it's in New York, wherever the NFL headquarters are. So I was very, very frustrated because that's a second half timeout that, if the Giants defense doesn't blow it and if the Daniel Jones doesn't fumble the ball, if that's a close game and the Giants are driving down for a game-winning drive and they need a field goal or 7 points, I mean, that's a timeout that you don't have. So I was very, very frustrated by somebody who is all about discipline, not losing your composure. If you get a 15-yard penalty during the game, like he ripped apart Darnay Holmes for getting that 15-yard penalty. You take a lap if you get too emotional and you have a late hit. If you get too emotional, you start a fight in practice. You take a lap, and he was absolutely livid that day during training camp. That team got into a fight. You can't lose your emotion like that and cost your team a timeout like that, especially when there's so little that you can do as a coach that impacts like in-game stuff. That was a very bad look, but he knew he was wrong at the end, so I'm not going to harp on him too much. But
yeah, my biggest worry is that you added new assistants to this offense and it's the exact same. Like that, so here's something that's going to be funny because you know how it goes. Like winning and losing is all that matters, right?
Yes.
Like winning, like it's all that matters. So we love, what Joe Judge, how he handles the media. We love it. But if we start losing, I guarantee you, and I think I've probably seen it a little bit already, it's like, I'm so tired of him always having an answer for something. Like, I guarantee you that's going to be said by a ton of people. I guarantee you. So that's why at the end of the day, all that matters is winning and losing.
Yep.
So the expectation for this team is to win. Or like a lot of people are going to get fired. Maybe not Judge, but a lot of people are going to be done with jobs if this team doesn't win.
And it'll be a shame. It really will be a shame if it is Garrett and if it's because of the offense and Jason Garrett's the play caller and that may be the only person that he didn't directly bring into the organization. It'll be a shame. Really, it's a shame that the way Pat Shurmur's tenure ended, he didn't get the defense under control, but also he had to pay for some miscalculations in 2018 that the organization made. They've admitted that they made miscalculations towards the first half of Gettleman's tenure. They have openly admitted that. So Pat Shurmur, in a way, had to pay for it. He was never a leader of men, but he had to pay for it. And we certainly saw how good he could have been calling plays on the offense side of the ball today. And then it'll be a shame if Judge eventually. I don't even want to talk about it, but there's always an excuse of something managerial, and it's getting kind of old. So,
all right, so it pisses me off that I couldn't tweet at Monty Ball or Ben Albright today. Like I really don't like Ben Albright. He's just a liar in life. Like, I don't think he's a good dude, and his score prediction, we can't make fun of it. All right, do you have anything else?
Next two opponents we have, and we'll talk about it in our game preview. But next two opponents we have.
Winnable.
What's going on with Washington's quarterback situation and Philadelphia Eagles, which
first place Eagles.
As of right now, they are a very bad football team. I mean, on paper, they are a very, very bad football team. Excuse me, voice crack. They got blown out. Falcons got blown out by a very bad football team, the Philadelphia Eagles. So
first place Eagles. Put some respect on their name.
Next two games are games that we can easily win, which is crazy to say. And maybe we don't have any right to say that, but short week. This will be a short memory week, and go out there, win, start the season 1-1, and we'll forget all about this Sunday, and we'll have all the optimism in the world. So let's rock and roll.
Yep. So, schedule-wise, we will be back on Thursday because we have the Thursday night football game. Our preview will be out on Thursday, and then we'll recap the game Thursday night and have that out for you on Friday. And then the week after, we'll do Tuesday, mailbag, and then Friday preview, and then for the rest of the year, we'll be back totally on track.
Expect I'm going to try and get it done by Tuesday. I don't care if the stats aren't out, because I know Wednesday we're going to be moved on. So expect sometime Tuesday a stats report on the YouTube page. We'll see with the All-22 about the O-line report, but definitely expect I'm going to do it whether I film or not. The stats report on YouTube too. So,
all right, sounds good. All right, we will see you guys on Thursday. We appreciate you. Check out all our other supplemental content in the time being. Thanks for sticking to the end of this episode, and hopefully we're the next episode. We're not listening to freaking Beck. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time. Until then, let's go Big Blue.